What is going on, guys? Naeem Al-Obeidi here. Super excited to do this live stream during the holiday season. Some of you guys are celebrating different holidays around the world, so this is going to be a joint live stream with Brenton Walker as well as myself. If you guys don't know Brenton, he's one of our analysts here at Traders Profit Club, and he primarily focuses on Forex and crypto. So make sure to subscribe to his channel. The link is going to be in the description below. But he's going to actually be using his expertise in market structure analysis and technical analysis and looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum's price action over the next couple of days. And we're also going to be covering the U.S. dollar because obviously we've been seeing a decline in that as well. And we're just going to overall cover the different market factors that are being really focused on right now in the majority of the marketplace. And just to kind of dive into what's happening with Bitcoin right now, you can see we found a temporary bottom right around that 3,000 level, as we've talked about over the past couple of days, and we're now starting to see some more volume come into the market. And this is the volume that we've been needing to see in the market because we've been seeing a lack of volume for so long. And so we're finally starting to see that come in, and that's going to be huge for us to even determine whether or not there's going to be some sort of a reversal for a bottom to occur at this time. So looking at this Bitcoin chart, what most people are not looking at right now is Bitcoin's total market capitalization and dominance. And I wanted to actually point this out because we actually broke some key support levels here. Bitcoin's dominance just took a huge dive from around 55% now down to around 51%, and it broke a key support level that was actually maintained for some time all throughout that rally from September all the way into what is now turning into the latter part of 2018. So I think things are going to start looking a lot better right now for the cryptocurrency market as we head into 2019, especially because as you can see with Ethereum, I know Brenton's going to love this chart because you can see this perfect M formation going on here. And what's cool about what Brenton does that's different than Raphael or other analysts is Raphael uses a very quantitative form of analysis where he's looking at fractal patterns and he's looking at market patterns and price action. And Brenton uses something that I like to use, which is technical analysis, and he specifically loves looking at market structure. So Brenton, if we can actually just kind of talk about market structure real quick, and maybe you can even pull up this Ethereum weekly chart like I've got and talk about this M formation that occurred and where we're starting to head right now with Ethereum.
Yeah, of course, Naeem. I would love to. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So I'll go over the Ethereum chart. Sounds like you were talking about the upcline with the U.S. dollar and everything that's going on with the market prices. And because of the U.S. dollar going up, we're going to see a lot of safe havens with crypto markets. So as we can see that the market is now, if we're going to go look at the weekly chart, we can see that price is actually having this area of structure. So the structure has happened, right? So what happens previously is that markets go into a consolidation, which price goes into one area and then it comes back and it retraces, tries to break previous areas. So as we can see that price is now having what we like to call an evening star. So evening star candle is basically when there's an indecision of market price, and that price is now going to break out to the upside, probably going to test the $200 level. And then after that, there's going to be 3 levels of rise where price is going to test each of these levels of rise to go into certain areas. And then after that, we might see an upwards breakout to the upside where we saw previously before market started to turn around, which was between May of 2007, 2007, the 7th of May in this year.
A long time ago.
Yeah, sorry about that. We can see price actually bottom down, and then we can see that reversal. And the reason why a lot of this happens is because a lot of the liquidity that's being trapped in this area has to be moved somewhere because a lot of people getting into price. People trading, especially against the U.S. dollar pair, they're shorting this position, they're shorting this trend, and then you're going to see 3 levels of rise trying to really retest those previous levels and taking liquidity from one area and then moving it to an opposite area so they can actually maximize profit.
I love it, man. And I see we have a ton of people on live right now. Rebel State Sovereign is on, Joshua Stephen Ward, Mike, Dabin, Randy, Brian, Chad. We've got even Frank is here with Michael and Redemption. We got a ton of great people here. And I want to talk a little bit about what you're kind of going through. And now that you're doing the Ethereum's technical analysis, I want you guys to also see what's happening in the fundamental side with Ethereum. You can see this news article saying Ethereum rated alpha now active promises a promising speed of over 1 million transactions per second. So what we're also seeing is the progression of the development with some of these projects like Ethereum. And once again, I remember this market when Ethereum was under $100 and we didn't have nearly as much projects that we have on Ethereum as we do now. And when we saw Ethereum dip below that $100 mark, if we were to put up this USD chart, I already knew that we were starting to see some sort of, we were going to see some sort of momentum on the upside eventually because, at the end of the day, there is going to be some value to this market. I think 100 billion in market cap was the perfect place for us to really bounce off of, for us to really see some sort of rationality in this market cap. And I think we're going to start to see more investor interest. Now we're starting to, now that we're starting to see more rational price levels. And I think that's going to be, right in pair with the progression of some of these companies like Ethereum now, heading towards 1 million transactions per second, which was a huge issue for Ethereum. And that's why a lot of people were moving to other platforms like EOS and Stellar and different de-application platforms. But now we're starting to see, the progression of the development. And then as we covered in our last live stream, we also saw Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, one of the founders of Ethereum, donating over $300,000 to 3 different companies to help with their development. So that's always a positive thing. That's showing positive signs of growth. It's always good when we see more liquidity being transferred within the market. And then you can also see here another article, which is interesting. A lot of people are talking about, says Binance adds 2 trading pairs with Ripple as the base currency. So we're starting to also see a shift in these exchanges becoming more mature as well, which I want to point out here because you can see here quoted from the text of Binance's announcement. It says here the original Ethereum trading market will be renamed into the alts trading market. So not only are they adding new pairings for like Ripple, but they're also starting to change things on the exchange to make it more simple for users to understand it more. And we're really starting to see cryptocurrencies being adopted by traders. And that's what's super exciting about what we're doing at Traders Profit Club, because see, most people don't realize, but cryptocurrencies are just one market. There's other markets like Forex and stocks and futures that you can trade. And so I think that's something that Brenton can give a little bit of perspective on, being that you do come from Forex background. Brandon, you've made over, hundreds of thousands in the Forex market trading, and you've taught students to make returns for themselves in the thousands. And so talk about the Forex market in comparison to Ethereum and Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies. But most importantly, what is the health of the U.S. dollar right now? That's the biggest question.
Oh, that's a great question, Naeem. So the health of the U.S. dollar is obviously going down to, it's actually digressing. So what happened is that we went into $1 trillion deficit in 2012, basically to stimulate the economy after we were in the recession, right? And then what happens is that what we do is that we put a bunch of money back in the market to stimulate. But because of the stimulation, we are trying to obviously increase market price, increase the value. We've been seeing higher stock prices, higher everything this last year. But the thing is that what we like to see, you guys, is that we use oil. So oil is priced into the dollar. So after we took the dollar off the gold standard, we actually had more acceleration of inflation. So inflation started to obviously was a big factor on how do we keep the price and how do we keep the dollar influence and how do we keep it accessible and have just a lot of more availability. So what we did is that because of the stimulation is that we have to have a correction. So this correction happens around every 7 years. As we had last 7 years is when we had that minor recession. So a lot of price markets are going into the downside. And this is the reason why for this is because it needs to have a healthy cycle. And these cycles are obviously here for it to be sustainable, because what comes up must come down. So if we look at price of oil, we can see that price obviously dropped from intense highs at this level at $77, and just made a spike down to the downside. And what that means is that because oil and the dollar is so integrated, we're going to see a lot of U.S. pairs in the U.S. dollar start to go to the downside. We also had Donald Trump have his disagreements with the federal chairman, and how we're going to see that take into consideration. And we can see stock prices are starting to drop at this time, where 2019 will be that correction for the US dollar. So I will see a lot of safe havens like gold. We'll see prices of gold. And the reason why I use gold as an indicator where price will be able to value the US dollar is because we used to use the gold as a not supplement, but the standard of how we value the price of the dollar. But after Nixon took it off the gold standard, then we just use what we call printing money during any type of correction in the market, is when the sovereign wealth fairs, which is the central reserve, they come into the markets and they try to correct the markets and go into certain areas, and we'll see big drops. We'll see areas where price probably might hit. So if you look at the USD Japanese yen chart, I mapped something out for you guys where we can see that the market works in 4 phases. So these 4 phases are basically all structures of the market in every universal, it's universal to every market. So we have the market accumulation phase, which is the downside, which is the bottom of the side. The next phase, which is the reversing desk that we put our money in if we're into Forex or if we're trading on margin, is that these brokers and institutions that basically give us marginal trade, is that they can see our stop orders, they see our limits, so they are actually able to see where price of our stop losses are, where the range of most of their pending orders are. So they'll move price into that area because they have to basically have equal assets on their books, because they're also proprietary traders on their desks.
So the question is, what's going on with the U.S. dollar? I mean, because with Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies, I want to kind of just dive in. Sorry to interrupt. That was amazing information, Brent. Like, at the end of the day, with my analysis of the cryptocurrency markets right now, if we were to actually go to Bitcoin, USD, and start pulling up some different indicators to start really seeing what we're actually experiencing right now, we'll go ahead and pull up the 3 moving averages as well as the RSI, because you can see on the weekly, we bounced off of that 30. And what Brandon's been talking about is exactly what we want to see here, which is a swing back so that we can expect to see higher price levels. And in order for that to happen, we need to start seeing more volume. So what Brandon mentioned is huge, and that's why I think his form of analysis is so important. And once again, if you guys aren't subscribed to Brandon's YouTube channel, the link is in the description below. Make sure you go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, because he's posting daily content, and then now he's going to start posting market health updates, and that's going to be huge for you guys to be up to date with the current markets, because it's not just about what's happening with Bitcoin, but it's also about what's happening in other markets. You can see we also bounced off of that 200-week moving average. So far, the 200-week moving average and that 30 on the RSI has acted as the quote-unquote temporary bottom, and now we can start heading towards that 100-day moving average. But here's the issue for me. It's looking at the daily chart. You can see if we were to also look at these moving averages on the daily, we have still not yet went above neither the 50, 100, or the 200-day moving average. And what I'd like to see in order for us to quote-unquote confirm a bottom is for us to see the moving averages below the price level and the price action, because that's going to give me a little bit more confidence in trading this, especially as a swing trader versus just going in as a day trader. If you guys are part of our Signal group, you guys know we already did about 5% profits today alone, and Raphael's actually went ahead and started a live account. So we're going to start posting our live account trades, and once again, we post all of our trades on our Discord for our premium group if you guys are part of that. And if not, we also have a free group. If you just go into the Discord, you have access to all of our chats there where you can talk to our analysts almost 24/7. And so we highly recommend you guys get into our Discord and utilize that resource that we've provided for you guys, because we're doing daily updates for you guys, and we do the daily market health updates, which are huge, because those market health updates are going to allow you to stay up to date with the market. I was at the gym today and I was listening to Raphael's market health update. He'll send it here every single morning under market health update. He'll do one for traditional markets and one for cryptocurrencies, and this is free. You guys can just get into our Discord and you'll have that notification sent to you every morning. And it's not like YouTube where you have to keep your screen on. You can shut your screen, put your headphones on, and just listen to it. So it's super valuable, and I highly recommend you guys utilize that, because you don't have to get on your charts. You can wake up, get ready for work, and then on your way to work, put on this podcast, or even put it while you're working, put it on while you're working or working out, or whatever that might be, because you guys want to stay up to date with the price action in this market. And what I'm telling you right now is, looking at this chart, there's going to be no doubt that we're going to start to see some sort of resistance alongside that 200-day. I believe that's actually the 50-day moving average that we're looking at in red. And so for us to start bouncing on that 50-day moving average would give me a little bit more of a confident sign in some sort of reversal. But at the end of the day, for us to be below this is still extremely bearish, and I still would consider this a downtrend, and this might just be another bull trap set in place for us during the holidays for us to lose some money coming into 2019. And knowing Breton and his understanding of institutions and the way they love manipulating the markets, he would understand why that could definitely be a possibility with some of these larger whales trading Bitcoin, because a bull trap could definitely be there, right?
Definitely. A bull trap can be a deciding factor of inducing a lot of buyers to the upside. Just because it's been, like you said, Naeem, you killed it with going over. It's been going down for a very long time. We haven't seen a lot of upside, and a lot of people are what we call FOMOing, right? It's just fear of missing out. So they're trying to break down some type of psychological measure or strategy that the market will go to the upside. So they start to accumulate some type of decision factor in their mind that is going to the upside, and that's what they strive off. They strive off people trying to get jumping the gun on a position or a structure, and then once that position or structure is being accumulated, they're going to move those transactions, that liquidity to an opposite direction, stopping out most of those traders.
Absolutely. And by the way, the link for Breton's YouTube channel is actually sending to Raphael's YouTube channel. I just updated that for you guys. So if you want, you can refresh the stream, and that link should be updated with Breton's YouTube channel. Or you can just go into our channel. It'll be under channels. But let's go ahead and start looking at XRP, because XRP was making some very interesting price movement and price action. And we definitely want to cover Ripple as we've already covered Bitcoin. And then we'll finalize this live stream by covering Ethereum and possibly taking some requests. But you can see here with Ripple, we're starting to break into new highs, and we're really at this resistance level here where it's going to be really interesting for us to see what's going to happen along this zone, because you can see we saw this resistance once, we saw this twice, 3 times, and this is the 4th time. And you can see this was also acting as a support before we saw the downside. And so looking at this chart as well, I'm interested to see whether or not Ripple can go ahead and break that 1 million Satoshi mark and start heading towards, the 1 million 10, or I'm sorry, the 100 or the 1.1 million Satoshi mark, sorry. Because at that point, that would be a possible reversal in which the resistance will then turn into support, because that's also something that tends to occur in markets when, based on technical analysis, previous resistance will sometimes turn into new support. So let's go ahead and look at the chat and see if we've got any questions here. Let's see here. Michael Jones says, "Happy holidays, Brenton." That is awesome here. Thank you guys so much. We are streaming during the holidays. We want to make sure that we can bring you guys the best content, the up-to-date content. Rebel State Sovereign says, thoughts on Bitcoin going to ETFs and being traded next year, 2019, more institutional money pouring in. Well, Raphael, if you guys don't know, is an institutional trader. And so, there are some things he can say, and there's some things that he can't really say, in his streams. But him and I have a lot of conversations. And if you guys were part of our last live call last week, you guys know that he talked a little bit about what the institutions, what the major funds that have a lot of capital are talking about in the background, and we're starting to hear word. What I can tell you is we're starting to see more interest in the crypto markets now that we're starting to see these lower price levels. We're starting to see more interest in the Middle East and Europe and different parts of the world where they're starting to see Bitcoin as undervalued and a possible time to start entering. So if we see billions of dollars come into this market, understand that that's going to significantly change the momentum of this market, and the reason I say that is we're still a puny market. We're still under 150 billion. We bounced right around 100 billion, and so knowing that a couple $1 billion can really make the market move, because once again, this market cap having that total of 137 billion doesn't mean that that's the amount of liquidity in this market. Because if we started to see liquidity in this market, this number would be a lot less, because the liquidity in the market is very different than the market cap of the market, right? This is more of a perceived value than the actual liquid value. And so, having liquid money come in, having billions of dollars in liquid funds coming into the market, that could make a significant impact in the total market cap, because once again, a lot of this market is psychological, and I know Brenton loves talking about that as well. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, in my opinion, if you were to ask me, you know, what cryptocurrency would you want to invest in right now, I would say, you know, if you're a swing trader, dollar cost averaging your way into the market right now could definitely be an option. But once again, I'm still waiting to see Bitcoin head above that 50-day moving average before I start dollar cost averaging as a swing trader. Because once again, if we're still in a downtrend, and this is just a bull trap, well then, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to lose money. And so what you want to be sure of is that you're staying liquid as possible in your trades. And that's why we kind of took a shift with our crypto alerts. And now when we send our crypto trading signals, we're sending these signals out, let's say like this one at 7:48, and the profits were taken about 10 minutes later. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to stay as liquid as possible. Or this Ethereum one was sent out at 5:47 a.m. and we took profits about an hour and a half later. And so knowing that, you know, we're in and out that quick, we're able to stay liquid, and that keeps our mentality positive because we know we've got our US dollars in the account and it's not being volatile and it's not subject to drop if we're still in this downtrend, which looking at the weekly, we could very well still be in a downtrend. Once again, this could just be one pump up because once again, if you look at this, for example, this was a huge amount of price action. We saw some volume come in, but we still saw further downside. So this is puny compared to something like that or even something like that. Yeah, that was a temporary reversal, but eventually it started to head down. So that could be the same thing here. And that's why we want to still be careful as swing traders in this market, because I'm telling you, there's a lot more opportunity. I mean, if you were taking advantage of our trades, we do them at the same time period every single morning, then you guys could have been up 5% today and you would have been able to go and enjoy your day. I think, you know, that's something that Brenton and I talk about a lot. It's the fact that, you know, trading doesn't have to be stressful, right, Brent? I mean, at the end of the day, you can come in and out and you can make your profits within a couple hours or a couple of days, depending on your style, and you're not going to have to continuously stress the markets, watch the charts. And that's why I highly recommend getting on the Discord, because you're going to be getting all of these market health updates sent straight to your phone, and that's free. And then if you guys want to get into our premium service and get our signals, once again, we can't offer that to everyone just because of the fact that these are signals of trades, and we need to make sure that that is limited to, you know, who has access to those. So talk about psychology, right? Talk about the market right now. What is your opinion on the crypto market right now in terms of where things are headed, but more importantly, the psychology behind why the crypto market is acting the way it is, since you did study market psychology and you've written numerous courses on this?
Yes, definitely. So what I believe in market psychology with the crypto market is essentially we have been driven price down. So I'm going to pull up a chart. I hope you guys can see this chart. Let me know if you guys are available to see it. And if so, this is basically a structure of how the market works in a 7-year cycle. So I know that crypto is actually still a new market, but it's a very volatile market. $150 billion is very high in that small of amount. I mean, 178 billion is traded on the stock exchange per day. So just for the amount that crypto has been able to grow in this small a time is going to be substantial in the next years. And going into the 2020 and above, we're going to see such a high volatile market. So what I believe the psychology of the market is that what the market institutional bankers and proprietary investors want to do is that they have a cycle, and this cycle is really just to keep people on their toes, and basically not, because the thing is that they don't want people to have very easily predictable markets. They want them to be able to lose money and then obviously not know how the price works over together. So what this graph is telling us that there's an area of market price where it's like a stealth phase, right? Just how we saw Bitcoin in the early prior to the breakout, we saw how it was really in a stealth phase, and a lot of people were using it for different acquisitions that they like to do. I know that a lot of people were doing stuff online with Bitcoin, and then out of nowhere we saw a huge spike, to the upside, and that's what gained the media attention. So when the media attention started to establish, and we started to see a lot of people getting into the markets, we saw a lot of people getting into Bitcoin itself, and then we saw the public, and this is where we saw a lot of people mortgaging their houses, and they were FOMOing, and they're doing all types of stuff to getting into the markets because they felt like, see, everybody's trying to get rich, and they're trying to get rich quick. And in psychology, in the market structures, they know that. So when price is driven in one area, people go and stimulate. It's just like this factor. Their neurotransmitters go off, and that makes them go and get trigger happy. And what happens is that we reach a new paradigm. And this new paradigm is where we essentially have ended the and we essentially call this the greed, right? And this is what happens afterwards. So what happens after this phase, if we go into this high volatile market spike to the upside or to the downside, we see a correction. And this correction essentially is where a lot of people are in the denial fate, right? A lot of people, I read this book called Trading in the Zone, where we talk about we have a pain mechanism that stops us from really trying to understand our defects in life. And what happens is that the denial phase is what accumulates, and we stop believing and we that the market isn't going to turn around, right? And then when it returns to normal is when price returns to normal, people are like, oh, okay, now price is going back, everything's gonna be fine. And then that's when the market starts to correct and reverse price, where a lot of fear comes into play, and a lot of people are scared to get out because they put so much money into the market, they put so much of their time researching that because for it to go against them, they just don't want to believe it. And then this is where the bankers and institutions capitalize on the market. So I'm going to pull up the Bitcoin chart for you guys.
Guys, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button right now. He is killing it right now, guys. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to follow Brenton, subscribe to his YouTube channel, turn on your post notifications. He's posting videos every single day on his YouTube channel, so make sure you go there. But keep killing it, brother.
Thanks, Naeem. I really appreciate it.
I've got something exciting to show you guys, too, before we go. I see we've got KC on, Mr. KTT is online, Edward Park is online, Frank Borrego, Michael Jones. Everyone's online right now. I'm going to show you guys the comparison of the 2008 market crisis in comparison to what we're seeing right now with Bitcoin, because I think we haven't looked at that for quite a while. But go ahead and finish your thoughts, Brandon, and we'll go into that.
Yeah, I'll finish it real quick. So what I was showing you guys earlier is basically this cycle, what we can see right here. I'm actually going to draw it out. It's the same, essentially. This is what happened to Bitcoin. As you guys can see, I'm going to draw a little brush, how market price made that new paradigm. And then we had that market bull trap, which was the normal, going back into normal. And then after we saw that the market, went to the downside and took out all of the buyers out of the market. And then we have what we call the accumulation phase, where market price started to accumulate for months at a time, because now we're going to get into another structure where price is either going to have another bull trap, like we talked about earlier, where price will possibly maybe test 7,500 if we're seeing that bull trap area, just to induce those buyers once again to think that the market's going to go back up to these previous levels. And then once we see that a level being reached, we might see a downside. So it's still speculative. The market is going to be going a way that it wants to. Obviously, we're going to just adapt and move and have structure being formed at that area. But yeah, that's my analysis.
I wanted to go ahead and show you guys the NASDAQ and what happened in 2008 in comparison to what Brenton is talking about right now, because I want you guys to kind of see how we're going to recover, because the recovery is really a big part of this too, right? A lot of people are not focused on the recovery side of when we're going to start to see the uptrend and how that uptrend is going to look, right? Because that's the biggest question, is how does the uptrend look? So if we were to just pull up the NASDAQ here, just to use as an example of the 2008 crisis, you can see here as we approached 2007, we started to head into 2008, we saw this huge run up, then we saw this long drop, and then what ended up being the bottom was where we saw significant sell volume initially that brought us way, way lower than we needed to be. And then eventually we saw that pump right back up, drop right back down to that support level. But you can see where the moving average, this 50-week moving average, which is why I pointed out the moving average earlier. You can see how once we started to kind of stabilize on top of that, that's when we initiated that uptrend, right? So if you were to consider where you want to be in this market right now, if you were to look at this graph and say that it would possibly be a depiction of what's going to happen in Bitcoin's, future, then you would want to first assume, where would you want to enter your position, right? And in my opinion, I wouldn't want to enter my position in this area because we're still below the moving average, right? So there's still a possibility of dropping. But I would love to enter a position around this area if I was swing trading, because look what that resulted in. It resulted in pretty much being in the bottom and staying in profits, because once again, you don't want to put $1,000 in an account and then see it go to $897. You want to put $1,000 into an account and see it at $1,400 the next day, because you're in an uptrend, right? So that's what swing trader would do. And that's why we're posting day trading alerts right now in our Discord, because there's a huge difference here. And the ones that are winning right now are the day traders. You know, there are very few swing traders right now making money in this market. Don't let people fool you. You know, I was talking to Raphael on the phone today, and we were talking about some of these Twitter influencers posting on Twitter and then deleting their tweets once the trade doesn't go their way. We're not deleting our trades. We're not deleting our signals. When Brandon doesn't make a good signal, he owns up to it. When I don't make a good signal, I own up to it. When Raphael doesn't make a good signal, he owns up to it. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, where do you want to be in this market? So if I were to pull up this Bitcoin chart and look at the consolidation that we're in here, you can see it's really the same thing that's happening here. We're starting to consolidate, but we're still below those moving averages on the weekly, right? And so on the weekly, you know, we've bounced off of 200, but you can see how far the 50-day is. So, you know, at the end of the day, I want to see more stability here, especially with this moving average. I want to see us on the daily go above the moving average just so that we have more consistent support. And so, you know, that's really the bulk and the meat of what I wanted to cover. But I want to know if, Brandon, do you have anything else that you want to add to this, just, you know, in the conversation that we're having?
No, not this time. Sounds like you covered mostly everything. I would like, again, I just want to reiterate, you guys, just be very careful, and obviously, you know, do what you feel is what your strategy is telling you to do. You know, if you're a day trader, wait for those daily lows and daily highs and look for that structured support and look for a previous price, because previous price does leave clues. And make sure that if you are a swing trader, you know, you are looking at, you know, especially right now, the fundamental data on a lot of these different pairs and stuff, because a lot of prices are going to be moving into next areas. So yeah, sounds like you covered basically everything, Naeem, and yeah, you killed it.
And so I want you to also talk a little bit, Brandon, about Forex and why you trade the Forex market as well, because for those of you that are in this to make money, there's money to be made in many different markets, especially if you're a trader. You know, I built this channel up doing my technical analysis, doing live trading. And so, you know, a lot of you guys are traders. And so there's a huge opportunity in the foreign exchange market that you can't really find in, you know, the crypto market, where you can trade on your phone and make, you know, lots of profits and returns while also trading crypto in other markets. You know, you can be extremely dynamic. Like, for example, Raphael trades futures, he trades oil, he trades NASDAQ, he trades Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's the same thing with Brent. He trades crypto, he also trades Forex. So I want you guys to eventually get a little bit of some exposure to what the Forex market is and how that's utilized. But the best place to go is going to be Brenton's YouTube channel, which is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe there, and he'll be posting daily content about the different markets here. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this cryptocurrency chart here and look at these coins here, and then take a couple questions from the live audience. I see we've got Joshua Stephen Ward on. He says BCH is looking pretty with a Santa Claus hat. So happy holidays to you guys. Mr. Salmon said trading in the zone is heart. Trich NYC says love this channel. Thank you for the support. So checking out this graph here, you can look at the major coins here: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, and EOS in the top 5 right now. We're seeing pretty much Bitcoin rise, you know, here. And, you know, over the last 7 days, Bitcoin has been down 20%, while coins like Bitcoin Cash have been up 36%. So, you know, in terms of percentage over the last 7 days, this does not look as good. And this is based on the Ethereum value. So if we were to actually switch this up to the Bitcoin value, which is the Satoshi value of these coins, you can see it's a whole different ball game when you're dealing with Bitcoin, because we're seeing some huge gains over the past 7 days when you're looking at Satoshi value. So if you were to ask me, would you want to hold Ethereum right now or Bitcoin, I would say that, you know, I would diversify, right? But once again, I wouldn't be holding right now. I would be day trading. But if you are somebody holding, I would say diversify within some of the top 5, like Ripple, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, because they're all acting in correspondence. So if we were to pull up the ETH BTC chart, you can see we're starting to rise in that too. And it looks like we've found a temporary bottom. Here's another M formation that we talked about earlier forming there. So looking at this chart, what I would say is obviously Bitcoin Cash is not going to be able to sustain 72% gains, you know, in the last 7 days. So I'd say you missed your boat on that one already. But start to look at some of these other coins like Ethereum and Ripple if you're starting to dollar cost average your way in, because these are the ones that we're starting to see development in. We're starting to see more news. We talked about Ripple and how there was more, liquidity going to possibly come in based on Western Union's decision to start adding cryptocurrencies to their payment options for international transfers. And so knowing things like that, we could surely see Ripple and Ethereum sustain these higher highs and then potentially see further highs over the next few weeks. But once again, for me, I like to stay conservative. So when I'm looking at these charts, I'm looking at XRP against BTC. Bitcoin is really what's going to sustain and hold this market. And so we need to see Bitcoin sustain some of its price levels. Even though we're starting to see Bitcoin's dominance drop, it still hasn't dropped enough to be confident in some of these altcoins when we know that they're still attached to Bitcoin's value. So that's really what I would say, and that's my perception of that. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys haven't liked the video already, make sure to like this video. Merry Christmas to those of you celebrating Christmas. Happy Hanukkah to those of you celebrating Hanukkah, whatever other holidays are out there. So we're going to wrap up soon. We're not going to do a live call after this just because it's the holidays. But I want Brenton to talk a little bit about the opportunity in the Forex markets and why you guys can follow his Forex signals if you guys are on our trading group, as well as follow his YouTube channel, and the link is in the description below for you to start understanding another market and a potential place that you can make some additional income.
Thanks, Sam. I really appreciate it. So with the Forex market, it's been something that I've been doing for quite some time now. And what I like about the Forex market is that it has a lot of volatility, which means that it's about $5.4 trillion a day that's being traded throughout all currency pairs. So there's a lot of liquidity in the markets, and it's also very accessible. And the thing what I really like about it is that there has a margin. So what the margin is that you can put a small amount in the account, and the broker will give you money to be able to marginalize your value of your capital. And this can be a double-edged sword. So it can make you a lot of money. It can also lose you a lot of money as well. So if you go on YouTube, you can see a lot of people, they flipped, $500 accounts into 27,000 or so forth, where there is a lot of volatile and there's a lot of highly opportunities in the markets. But the thing is that it's not about how much money you make, in a small time, it's how much money you make over time, right? The percentage you take home to the bank over time. And that's what the biggest thing about the market is, where a lot of people, when it comes to the Forex exchange market, it's about having that consistent strategy. And this is where we get into having market psychology, right? There's a statistic that 90% of traders lose 90% of their accounts in 90 days. There was the brokers that came up with that statistic, and that was such a huge factor of when I learned about markets and learning about the foreign exchange markets and learning how there's all these different price actions, all these different movements. It just gives you a lot more basic understanding, and not just that, it makes you very knowledgeable when it comes to currencies and countries and how banks and institutions work and how just the overall economy works. So getting into the foreign exchange market has been something that has changed my life. Coming from something that's totally different, that's not even trading related. I completely dissected myself into this, and this is where the big things that happened in my life, where I was able to make a lot of money. So what I like about the Forex market as well is that you can use easy platforms like MT4, which is a great platform. You can also use your phone if you are on the go, and if you want to be able to watch your trades while you're at work and so forth, you can be able to use that MT4 as well, and we'll be able to do signals on the Forex and our Forex signals.
If you guys want to get into Forex and follow that market as well, and follow Brenton Walker and his journey with that, go to the link in the description, follow his channel, subscribe to his YouTube channel, and he'll definitely continue that conversation. And thank you so much for being on the stream, Brenton. I think this was an awesome stream. We covered a lot of topics. We covered a lot of different markets, and I think that a ton of people got value. Did you guys enjoy this stream? Say something on the chat if you enjoyed this stream, or just like the video. Either way works. Let's see here. Brandon Davis says, what's the best chart for MT4 on TradingView?
The best chart, you can look at Euro USD, USD JPY. Those are some of the biggest pairs that are being traded on the daily.
Awesome. Well, happy holidays, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up. I got to celebrate my holidays the same way that you guys are hopefully celebrating your holidays. And thank you guys so much for being a part of our movement. We're going to have some awesome stuff coming for 2019. We're super excited about that. We're going to be launching with a ton of new stuff, a course coming out whole new platform. And if you guys know, our Discord group has just went to the next level now that we've changed to Traders Profit Club. We're just posting the best trades. We're posting the best content. We're helping all of our students. So if you guys are not in our Discord already, make sure you get into our Discord. The link is in the description below. It's free. There's a mobile version, a desktop version, a web version, so you can access it on any platform. Just click the link in the description. It'll create your account, and you'll be on your way to success. So thank you so much. Any last thoughts, Brenton, before we wrap up the holiday stream?
All good. Happy holidays, you guys. Thanks for being on the stream.
Thank you guys so much, and we are out.